Welcome back to Saturday Hashmarks. My name is Brian. I'm joined here by Nick. Nick, the Indiana Hoosiers are national champions. Let me just say that one more time. The Indiana Hoosiers are the freaking national champions. The Indiana Hoosiers, who entered the season as the losingest program in college football history, are now the national champions. They are on top of the college football world. Imagine 3 years ago going back and saying that the Indiana Hoosiers were going to win a national championship. You would have been laughed at, called an idiot, and told to never talk college football ever again.
Yeah,
Incredible run by Indiana over the last 2 years.
yeah. Credit to Signetti and all those players that he brought over. No, like what 7 4 stars, 0 5 stars on the roster. Uh, yeah, I never thought I'd say Indiana are national champions in my life. I never. It's like
Here we are.
it's like Purdue. It's like who Kentucky. Like there's these just
UConn.
schools that are
There's these
just
schools
like
that
in these in the power conferences that you just know are just like bad every single year, and they're gonna be bad. And NIL is allowing those teams to actually make it a little more fair. And credit to Indiana. Like I said, I never thought I'd say they're national champions, and it's pretty crazy what they
it's
did.
it is insanely crazy. They brought over a bunch of guys from James Madison. Now, that team that they brought from James Madison wasn't even bowl eligible because they were transitioning. So the NCAA did not allow them to play in a bowl game because they were transitioning from an FCS to Power 5 or to the Power 4, FBS. Sorry, FCS to FBS. Think about those guys that they get recruited to go play at an FCS school. That's not a great FCS school. They're a good, not great FCS school. Those guys are now national champions in the FBS level. That is absolutely insane. An absolute insane 4 year ride that they get to look back on and just for the rest of their lives be in shock that that happened. I don't think it'll ever fully hit what that was like or how that happened or they'll ever completely accept it or whatever you want to say. That is going to be just an awe thing to think about for the rest of their lives.
100%. I think that Signetti and whoever their little GM is, their president of the school, the way that they set this up, I think tons of schools are going to start following this model. Though they're going to start bringing in guys. They're not really going to. They'll look at the rankings, but they're going to start looking at who's played football and who's been productive when they've played football, because that's
Absolutely.
what JMU or Indiana and Signetti brought his guys from JMU that were productive. They knew the scheme, they knew the culture, and they played a lot of football. And even Miami had guys that played tons of football this year. Uh, I think it's going to be the new norm. I think this is one of the more improbable national championships. I feel like just based off the fact that Indiana was so bad 2 years ago, like literally 2 years ago. Uh, I do think that we're going to start seeing bad schools winning national titles, like previously bad schools, like the Kentuckies, Mississippi States, uh, even bad schools in the Big Ten. I mean, I think we could see a Wisconsin revival. Like the teams like that will have years where they can win it all, solely based off the fact that they just bring in guys from the portal and do it the way that Indiana did.
I don't know if it is repeatable. I don't know
Not
if
it's not
any
as not
other
16-0 repeatable, I don't think, but getting deep playoff runs and maybe winning a championship, I think so. I think you could get, and I mean they'll have probably 2 losses, but we're going to get to 24 teams at some point. There's going to be 3 lost teams. There's going to be 4 lost teams making the playoffs. So I just think I don't think there'll be a 16-0 type run like Indiana had from a lower level uh, previously bad school, but I think we'll start to see a lot more of those notoriously historically bad schools become better.
That I agree with. I think a big thing, and you brought this up, the NIL. A lot of people when NIL was first started thought, oh, the rich get richer. You're gonna have your Alabamas, you're gonna have your Georgia at Georgia, your Clemson at the time, your Ohio States, your Michigans that are just paying players more than anybody else can, and I don't think that could be further from the truth. And I think we have seen that. Look at Texas Tech this year as well. NIL makes it more of an equal playing field somehow. It allows teams that have historically not been good to throw money at people and become good in a very short amount of time. And I'm not saying that Indiana did that. I don't think Indiana is very high, ranked super highly on NIL. Now they do have the backing of Mr. Mark Cuban, who is one of the richest people in the world. But at the same time, you're seeing this happen. You're seeing teams that are more competitive. I mean, nobody before would have gone to Indiana. No one out of high school was going to Indiana. But I can go, make 300K or 500K at Indiana, or I can make 30K at a big school. So I'm going to go to Indiana, where before no one was paying. Well, the SEC was paying. But if supposedly, I'm going to have to say supposedly on that, supposedly putting money in McDonald's bags and giving it to players, bagmen, real thing.
Saban was on McAfee's show. I think it was Friday or maybe it was Monday. I can't remember. I think it was Monday. And he was talking about how players nowadays from the South, the reason why the Big Ten is dominating so much is because those players from the South are going up north and playing because you can pay the players now. Back when
Saban,
players couldn't get paid, they stayed in the South. And just like Saban was completely acting like the SEC wasn't paying any of those players, and that actually made me laugh.
Yeah, 100%. That Saban, look, I know you're not going to come out in public and say, oh yeah, look, the whole reason we won all these championships and had this dynasty was because we were paying players. Saban, we all know that you were paying players, though. We all know that you were paying players. Every college, the SEC was absolutely paying them more. I think Coach O's even talked about how you bring the money in the back door. And we know the whole Laramie Tunsil thing happened because he took money from a school and then went to another school. Like, the SEC was paying players and paying them well. But let's cut the BS and stop saying they weren't Nick Saban. Now, with Indiana being the national champions, though, we got a freaking great game. We had one of the best games, national championship games in recent memory. Last year was a good game, but not great. The game that it immediately brings to my mind is the national championship game where Tua comes in the fourth quarter and leads Alabama, and they come from behind victory on a game-winning pass. That is what this game was. That is how good this game was, I should say. So let's start off, first of all, Michael Irvin was a captain. All right, you start with Michael Irvin as the honorary captain. It's going to be a great game. You got a great thing there. But one thing that was a very big surprise is that Indiana had the home crowd advantage somehow, even though the game was played in Miami. The game was played at Miami's home stadium, and Indiana had the crowd advantage. Well, that's something that happens at UCLA. That is not something that happens.
I think a lot of it has to do with so each team was given like 20,000 tickets to sell, and then there was like 30,000 that went corporate. Or corporate, I don't know what that means, whether if that's like secondary market stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that those Indiana fans were just spending so much money on these tickets because they have never been here before. And
that is a possibility.
And honestly, like if your team's getting there for the first time ever and you have money to go, and who's to say, like, if a lot of the teams leaving, who's to say you guys ever get back? And so I think that's why, because they dominate every game they played, even the Big Ten championship, they had more fans than everyone. And I think that's just solely based off the fact that they just never been there before, and their fans were not going to miss out and let that one chance slip away, because who knows when they'll be back.
That is true. But I think it's also like you got to look at it. Miami hasn't been there since 2002.
Miami
This is
also, I feel like, doesn't have like the new age. Like, it doesn't have. They don't have the fans. Like
that is
the new
true. A
age
lot of their
fans. And
fans are. I think like Miami is the perfect place to get like bandwagon fans that aren't from the area because of the style they play and they bump rap music and they do all these cool things. And I think that's a perfect one, but they just haven't done anything in so long that a lot of their fans are old heads. And that's nothing against you if you're a Miami fan. It doesn't necessarily mean you're an old head. But I think the age demographics definitely shift
hmm
higher than they do with
Well,
some of these other teams.
the campus is in Coral Gables too, and I don't think Hard Rock is in.
I've
I
heard that
believe.
that is a pretty far drive from campus
Yeah.
to stadium, but you know what's a further drive? Indiana's campus to Hard Rock Stadium. So to me, it's like I get that Indiana hasn't been there, but you got to think Indiana and Miami fans are paying the same price for the same ticket. Uh, Indiana fans now have to pay for a hotel. They got to pay for airfare. They got to pay for food for 3 days or whatever. Like it was significantly more expensive to be an Indiana fan that goes to that game than it was to be a Miami fan that goes to that game.
Hundred
And
percent.
Miami hasn't been there in a while either, so I would have thought that the demand would be fairly equal. I would have thought that a lot of Miami fans wanted to be there because their team hasn't been there since 2002, and they're a program that expects their team to be there every year. So that was why I was surprised by it. But I also get absolutely, taking over the stadium when your team hasn't been there. But we did see that kind of play a little bit of a factor when Miami was on that Indiana side. That place was going nuts. Um, Start the game off though. I mean, it was kind of a slow back and forth. I shouldn't say back and forth. There's a slow, not a lot of offensive scoring, lots of punting. Indiana had a couple of penalties pretty early. I thought that was going to be a theme for Indiana, that they were going to kind of lights were going to be too bright, but it wasn't. They settled into the game. Miami's defensive line in the first quarter absolutely dominating Indiana's offensive line, which was a very good offensive line. Mendoza was getting murdered back there, and there were some very late hits that were not called. I'm more on the side of let the boys play. I'd rather there be a penalty you miss than a penalty you call that we look back on and said, what are you even looking at here? So I'm okay with that. But then Indiana goes into half, so they hit a field goal, then they get a touchdown. Really, all Miami in the first half, they go into the halftime leading
All
10
Indiana in
nothing.
the first half.
Sorry, all Indiana in the first half. So really, all Indiana in the first half. They go into halftime. They're up 10 nothing. Miami goes in. They look defeated. Uh, Indiana goes in. They look ready. They look like they're ready to come back out and play. We get halftime, and Miami makes some huge improvements, some huge halftime adjustments. All of a sudden, their offense comes to life. Carson Beck was looking really good in that second half. Uh, they were getting some stops. So Miami did miss a field goal, by the way, right before half. Does come into play a little bit if they make that, but the rest of the game probably plays out a little bit differently. But then Miami scores on their first drive of halftime. Uh, Goes 10-7. It's a Fletcher touchdown run. Mark Fletcher has looked absolutely phenomenal all year long, or I should say all playoffs long. He's looked good all year long. Phenomenal all playoffs long. This is where we get crazy, and to me, what is the difference in this game? Both teams kind of go 3-and-out, 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 punting. Miami punts it from backed up against their own goal line, and a player for the Miami punt team forgot to block, and an Indiana player runs
Hmm.
right off the edge, blocks the punt. Punt goes into the end zone. Block punt goes into the end zone. Indiana falls on it for a touchdown, which then makes it a 17-7 game instead of a 10-7 game. Makes it a 10-point game again. That is absolutely going to be the difference in that game. And this was a 6-point game. Obviously, things would have played out very differently from that point. But in my opinion, that is the biggest play of the game right there. That changes the trajectory of the game. Now, all of a sudden, Miami, if they just force Indiana for a field goal on that drive, if they punt the ball off, force Indiana to hit a field goal, they're not down 2 possessions. Now Miami's trying to play catch up for the rest of the game. They were down 3. They give that up. Now they're playing catch up, trying to overcome a 2-score deficit, which is significantly harder, obviously, than overcoming a 1-score deficit.
Especially against that Indiana defense.
Especially against that Indiana defense. Start of the fourth quarter. First play, Fletcher again, touchdown, goes up 17-14. And this is where we see a little mini shootout ensue. Both teams are scoring pretty easily. Both defenses are, I'm not going to say looking bad, but they're not getting the stops. They're not looking dominant. Kurt Cignetti on this next drive had the biggest balls. He went for it on 4th and 5. In kind of fringe field goal range, you can say, okay, that one I get. Mendoza hits Becker for a little back shoulder fade on a go route, or not back shoulder fade, a back shoulder comeback on a go route. Crazy good play there. Crazy good catch by Becker, and a good, not great throw, but something that you can tell they have worked on a ton of times.
He's elite at throwing back shoulders.
He is elite at throwing back shoulders, and Becker is elite at coming back for the ball. Becker has been on fire this entire playoffs. He has looked great. Indiana obviously coming a little bit more alive, and that's weird to say on a team that went 12-0, but like Big Ten championship game and on, they look significantly better than they did during the regular season. They got hot as well. Obviously, we were all saying Miami got hot at the right time, but Indiana also got hot at the right time. But then they have another play. So they have it 4th and 5 again. About the 10-yard line. About the 10-ish yard line. And the psychopath Kurt Cignetti calls a quarterback draw. And Fernando Mendoza not only gets the quarterback draw, he gets the first down. He just fights through people and ends up in the end zone. And there is a little bit more to this story. That line, back when Mendoza was at Cal, okay, they're in the ACC, Cal's in the ACC, obviously. Cal and Miami are playing. And there's a quarterback draw with Mendoza. He takes off, he gets popped, gets knocked out of the game with a concussion. That same linebacker that did that is the same linebacker that Fernando Mendoza trucked to get into the end zone on that quarterback draw. Really a full circle moment, and not only just a full circle moment. That was Fernando Mendoza saying, "I'm the Heisman winner, bitch. I am the guy. I am him. I am this much better this year." And that right there, absolutely just insane. Insane call by Cignetti. Insane effort by Mendoza. Even though we with the ending that we got, I think that might be the second play of the game. Fernando Mendoza putting his shoulder down and trucking a freaking linebacker for a touchdown on a quarterback draw. Then it was 4th and 5.
Yeah, no, that play was like another Heisman moment, even though he already had his Heisman. That was like his real Heisman moment this year.
That was his real Heisman moment.
Like to get the revenge a year later on Miami, and even like on Miami as a team, because they choked away that lead when he was at Cal, but also to get his revenge on that linebacker. Like that's just such a full circle moment. And for him, I mean, they never ask him to do much. They run the ball a lot. It's a lot of RPOs, but whenever they need him to make a throw, he makes the throw. And credit to him, kid's tough as hell. He got his ass beat all night. And
he was taking hit after hit after hit after hit, and he still. So let me put the team on my back real quick. Let me run the ball in. Let me truck a linebacker. I agree. That is, if he had not won the Heisman, that's his real Heisman moment. All right, that drive against Penn State was good. I put an asterisk on that for Heisman moment because he sucked for 58 minutes of that game. That was his "I am the Heisman winner" moment. Like he said, "I am the Heisman winner. I won the Heisman. What are you gonna do about it? You can't stop me." incredible play. Like I said, incredible play, toughness, balls on Signetti, just an incredible play all the way around. I think that one, that I was screaming during that play. So after that play, Miami gets the ball back, and we had a Miami drive down the field. 6 minutes left in the game. Tony gets a touchdown run. Kind of a little jet sweep. That might actually go down as a pass.
They changed it to a pass.
Did they change it to a pass? Yeah, it was. Yeah, one of those that's, it could have been a handoff, but Carson Beck does one of those, and to catch. Technically, it's a forward pass. Really a run, reception, whatever you want to call it. Tony on a jet sweep gets in the end zone. Now we are back. Tony is incredible. Tony is what Zachariah Branch was supposed to be at USC and has been a little bit at Georgia. He is so good. You get him the ball on a screen, he's going to break it off for 15 yards. He's a guy you just want to get the ball to. He's an athlete. Yep. He is, hey, you know what? We need to play. Let's get the ball to our best athlete, and it's Malachi Tony. So 24-21, 6 minutes left, and I think the text that I sent you at that time, and let me pull that up, sums up this Miami team significantly. Let me find that. Before that, I sent you a text that said, Abella Danger crowd shot. Just want everyone to know, we noticed the Abella Danger crowd shot. Which also absolutely wild that they are showing Abella Danger on ESPN during the national championship game. The star power in terms of fans and the crazy psychopath Michael Irvin on the sideline, Miami has been, if nothing else, entertaining all season long. It almost seems like Diego Pavia should have gone to Miami, not for his playing ability, but because of the circus that comes with it. He would have fit in perfectly there. But the real text that sums everything up with Miami is, I said, something I didn't think I'd ever ask. Can Miami's defense get a stop when they need it? And that's because Indiana was still moving the ball. Like, Miami's defense is great, but they were getting the ball out quick. They made the adjustment to, hey, like, we're just going to keep running our RPO. If we get the ball out, Miami's pass rushers can't hurt us because we're getting the ball out super quick. They were being super aggressive and crashing in. And just, hey, here's the ball down here. Got, receiver that's running a screen. Receiver that's just kind of running out route. Receiver on a slant. Like, they were just getting the ball out quick. Turns out they could. They do get the stop. They do allow a field goal, but they get a stop. They are alive. It is a 6-point game. They just need to go down and score a touchdown. They get the ball back, though, with about a minute and a half left. Minute 45. I don't think I put actually what time they did. And I actually did put on here, Miami's DBs are not great, and they don't look great when Miami's defensive line isn't getting penetration. I did get it. Indiana kicks the field goal with a minute 42 left. Miami has no timeouts. It is a one-possession game. What can Beck do?
What can he do?
What can he do? And it doesn't look great. It doesn't look great at first. But then Indiana gets a very, very uncharacteristic roughing the passer. And I thought that was it. I thought, again, Brights are too light for this little Indiana team. These guys are just realizing they need to stop big, bad Miami and all the talented players that Miami has. And they're folding. They're folding. They can't handle the pressure. And we see Miami is moving the ball downfield. And then we get the most fitting end to Carson Beck's career. And that is that Carson Beck throws an interception to seal the game. Now, there is something that I want to say. Nick, you know I am not a big Carson Beck fan. I even gave Carson Beck props last episode, and you said, this is so unlike you. You're giving Carson Beck props. I am not a big Carson Beck fan. I have said numerous times, I have given Carson Beck his fair criticism. That is not on Carson Beck, though. And that's not necessarily on the receiver either. That was a great jump and a great way to jump the route, and a great interception by the Indiana defender. They go cover 4. And it's a go route. And the DB is playing him. He's shading outside and behind him, a step behind him. He's playing the you're not going to beat me over the top. And the safety is playing cover 2 on that side. It was a cover 4, go route. Dude mans up against the safety, or against the receiver. Safety rotates over. President cover 2. Not to get too into the weeds of the technical side here. That was a well-thrown ball, and a ball that 9 times out of 10 is a completion, or at worst an incompletion. That receiver, or that DB, absolutely baited him into that throw. And he played that perfectly, knowing that his safety was over the top, trusting that his safety would stop him if he got beat, and said, I'm going to go win this game. And win this game he did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he should have thrown that ball in the first place. If it's cover 4 and you're running a go route and he's the only go route in that area, he's going to be double covered no matter what. So I think that was pretty dumb for him to throw that pass. But like, I saw some thing like he's lost like 10 games in his career or something like that, and 6 of them are game-losing interceptions from him. Or maybe it was like 4 game-losing interceptions. I don't know, but it's insane. Like,
I think
we almost know what was gonna. We almost knew what was gonna happen.
We did. I mean, it was, like I said, a very fitting way for Carson Beck to end his college career. My thing is, I don't love that play call, and the reason I don't love the play call, especially in a cover 4, should have been a check with me and check into something else. In that moment in a cover 4, you have a go route on the outside, and then you have a couple like underneath, not really go routes, kind of not drags or deeper than drags, kind of a get into the middle of the field route. I don't even know what you would call that route across the middle. But the thing is, if you hit one of those guys in the middle and they don't get out, and especially if they don't get the first down, you're losing 15 seconds, and there's 45 seconds left in the game. You're losing a third of the amount of time you have to do something, and a wasted down because you have to spike the ball because you're out of timeouts. That's the only reason that I think that is the only option you really can hit there, is to throw it to your receiver, put it in the right spot, which he did, and hope that the DB doesn't make a phenomenal play on it. That's the only reason I'm okay with that ball being thrown. If there was 2 minutes left in the game, absolutely not. If they had timeouts, absolutely not. In that situation, in those circumstances, I'm okay with that throw there.
Yeah, I
really,
wish he'd be a little more smart with the football, especially knowing, like, I get they don't have a lot of time and all that stuff, but just throw it away. Live to see another down.
yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, I have been Carson Beck's probably biggest criticizer. I have not thought that the Carson Beck experience worked out great at Georgia. Did not think that it worked out great at Miami this year. When he was asked to go win a game, he threw a pick against SMU, lost a game against Louisville, now lost a national championship. I don't think he's a great quarterback by any means, and I think he's going to have Carson Beck's, he seems more like a real estate guy than a car dealership guy to me. But he will definitely not be playing in the NFL for very long.
No.
He could be a good XFL guy, or UFL. Is that what they changed it to? UFL? He could be a UFL guy.
Whatever it is now.
Yeah, but he will not be playing on Sundays in the fall for a very long time. But yeah, that is how that game ends. PA announcer played Fernando by ABBA over the loudspeaker. Absolutely. Yeah, I've had that song stuck in my head all day because it's on every TikTok about Fernando Mendoza right now, as it should be. But I've had that song stuck in my head all day. Absolutely great game to cap off an absolutely amazing college football season. We saw just an insane amount of things happen this season. Things that we didn't know were big deals at the time. Things that we knew were big deals at the time. And then to finish it off in this fashion on a game-winning interception, just a phenomenal finish on this season. And like I said, you really got to give a lot of credit to Kirk Cinetti here. Uh, Kirk Cinetti just absolutely turned this Indiana team around. That's to put it mildly, and you can't really put it another way.
Yeah, I just saw something. It came up with, I think, Fernando Mendoza. You know how he's like is always like on top of updating his LinkedIn and stuff.
Yes.
He posted 3 hours ago a picture of him holding the national championship, saying, "Monday night, my teammates and I had the honor of raising the national championship trophy." And he puts all this whole thing. It's like, dude, everyone knows. I love it though. And then
I
he's
think
like, it's crazy.
I think Fernando Mendoza he's gonna play in the NFL, but he's gonna want to like be an accountant or like be in the corporate world. And because he's just such like a smart brain, train watching type of guy that
Dude,
he's gonna like
he
be in the
graduated high
NFL.
school. Or go ahead.
He graduated high school? I
With
would
a
expect so.
with a 5.2 GPA.
You can graduate with a 5. I thought a 4.0 was the highest you could go.
5.2.
5.2 this man was getting. I thought a 4.5, sorry, was as high as you could go. Did not know you could go to a 5 or a 5.2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Me either.
he's I could see him just like coming out tomorrow and be like, I'm not declaring for the NFL draft. Instead, I'm going to be a doctor. Like, he is just the type to do that. And I love that. And if I end up ever needing a doctor and I get Dr. Fernando Mendoza,
Shit, I hit a video on this. I saw that I was going through the Fernando Mendoza thing and hit a video.
that's a rookie mistake, Nick. I expect
Yeah, I know.
better.
It wouldn't have been as bad if my freaking AirPods were working.
That is true. Nick's AirPods, right before we were recording, we are kind of going over some things, and his AirPods died. Kind of the
Died at 67%.
somehow they died at 67%. I don't know how that's possible, Nick. I think maybe you need to get the AirPods to like an AirPods fixer, dude. But yeah, that's insane. I don't know. I really don't have too much more to say. I think we had an absolutely amazing game. Obviously, when you only have one game, there's not a ton to talk about. I guess we could talk stats real quick.
Yeah, I was just
Got
gonna
a little bit of time here.
shout out
Yeah.
the running backs.
Go on. Oh, yeah. Go. You do. Whatever you want to talk about.
Just Indiana as a team running the football. Like Fernando didn't really do much running the ball because he got sacked and all that stuff. But if you take out him, they ran it 38 times for 139 yards. They just kind of dominated the ball. The O-line, who was the MVP of the semifinal game, they kind of held Miami's D-line in check. So I feel like they deserve a good shout out. Both the running backs played good. They weren't anything crazy explosive or whatever, but they just kept getting those yards, kept getting first downs. And then, what was his name? Miami's D-line. Akeem Mesidor is absolutely insane. He is so good.
Very, very good. Ruben Bain got all the credit this year. Akeem Mesidor was a close second and did not get the flowers he deserved. Even their defensive line or their defensive tackle, the dude that went out, Ahmed Moten.
Oh yeah,
he went out against Ole Miss. He looked really, really good.
Yeah, that whole D line was insane. Like Mesidor had like 12 and a half sacks this year. Granted, they played 16 games, but 12 and a half sacks in 16 games is still insane. But I mean, other than that, I mean, I'm excited to see what they do. I'm excited to see if Mensa goes to Miami or if he ends up having to stay at Duke or whatever. If that kind of ruins Miami's whole next season because their backup quarterback transferred, and who knows what they'll do.
Yeah, Miami's going to be in for a tough spot next year. They're losing a ton of their star players. I don't think we'll see them back. Indiana, I'm not going to say we're not going to see them back, but they are losing a lot of experienced players as well. Um, I'm not going to be betting against this Indiana team anytime soon, as long as Kurt Signetti is the head coach. And then, yeah, just real quick to go over some stats here. Carson Beck, 19 for 32. Not great. 232. Not great. One touchdown, which was the jet sweep, and then one interception. Mark Fletcher, 17 carries, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns. Phenomenal game there. Charmar Brown only had 3 carries for 5 yards. No touchdowns.
They didn't
And
run as many
receiving,
offensive plays as.
that
So
is
they
very true.
dominated
They did
time of
not.
possession against Ole Miss, and Indiana dominated the plays ran or time of possession against Miami.
Yeah, that is very true. Malachi Tony, 10 receptions, 122 yards, and a touchdown.
Off.
Kind of spread out besides that. CJ Daniels was their second leading receiver with 4 catches for 62 yards. Over on Indiana, Kalon Black, well, I could say Fernando Mendoza, 16 for 27, 186 yards. 186 yards. Not a good stat day for him, but came up with some really big plays when you needed him.
That's like the
Rushing,
most. He had a little more interceptions, but like that's a normal. I feel like that's been a normal Fernando stat line, just minus
that's a
3 touchdowns.
that's a yes, 100%. That's a normal Fernando Mendoza stat line, just no touchdowns, no interceptions. He usually has like 3 or 4 touchdowns, like you said, but absolutely normal stat line. Remember, he's only thrown for 300 yards one time this season.
I mean, he's only thrown it like they only throw like 24 times a game with him or something like that. So
Yeah, and a lot of RPOs, which don't go usually for a ton of yards. So
yeah.
he's not really pushing the ball downfield a whole lot. Kalon Black, 17 carries, 79 yards, and then Roman Hemley, 19 carries, 60 yards. So 131 yards total. That is including Fernando Mendoza's run sacks on that. Kind of a two-headed monster. Neither played as good as Mark Fletcher. And then receiving, Omar Cooper Jr., 5 receptions, 71 yards. Not great. Charlie Becker, 4 receptions, 65 yards. 2 of those huge receptions. So, stats-wise, not a crazy stat performance from anybody, but great game.
Yeah, I mean, really the only standout offensive player was Tony, just because 10
Yeah.
catches, tons of catches, tons of yards, scored a touchdown.
I'll, I'll throw
But
Mark Fletcher on there, too.
yeah, uh, it we knew it was going to be a defensive game, and the defense
Absolutely.
showed out.
This game was actually more offensive than me and you both thought.
Yeah,
We
definitely.
both picked Indiana at like 21-13 or something.
Yeah, it was looking like it was going to be something like that early on.
Yeah,
Around after halftime, I was like, and then they started scoring. I mean, shit, Miami put up 21 points in the second half.
yeah, that is true. All right, that is all I got for you, Nick. Anything? That's all I wanted to talk about today. Anything you want to talk about? Your camera is just zooming on your face right now.
Zoomed in when I was. I got nothing. It was a great season.
Ready for great season. Definitely ready for next season. Ready for spring ball here in like 2.5 months.
Yeah,
somehow.
crazy.
All right. Well, then with that, we're still going to be posting in the off season. We're still going to be having episodes in the off season. Not 100% sure what those look like, although we do have some ideas. Obviously, going to try to get you guys transfer portal news, spring ball news, and then as we get closer to next season, some predictions by conference. So definitely stick with us, even though there's no games going on. We're still talking college football. Probably the best time to listen to college football is when you miss it the most, which is the off season. So with that, we'll see you guys next week, and that's about it.